Project progress. All your plans are in place, the project's been approved, it's now time to start to implement your project. So how do you do that? You've got all these plans and now you've got to convert them from a project plan to an action plan. So we know the products that have got to be delivered, but what are the steps we've got to take to get there? And that's what we're trying to do here. We're converting these baselines into action plans. And once we've converted them, we agree what we're going to do and when. We allocate work to suppliers, and then we've got to keep track of what's happening. We've got to monitor the situation. We've got to make sure things are going according to plan. So we're reviewing what's happening against what we forecast would happen. Of course, it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes things don't go according to plan, and then we have to control. So control is where we take action to make corrective actions to get ourselves back on plan again, back on target. So monitoring and control are particular areas of work that we do during project implementation. So what are some of the techniques that we use? Well, one of them is called a control point identification chart. Part of this may well be done when you're doing your risk analysis because it helps us to identify, first of all, what could go wrong. And it often then will include, if we have a control point identification chart in place, how and when will I know about it? And then the final part of that, back to your risk analysis and risk management, is what will I do about it? So it's really a good discipline to sit with your project team members and to identify what could go wrong. If it does go wrong, what's the earliest point you can find that out? So how and when will I know about it? And finally, what will I then do about that process? So that's a control point identification chart. Then we have a project control chart. I link these in with my natural planning spreadsheets. So in addition to what am I going to do, when will it start, when will it finish, in order to control my project, I add 3 more columns. The first one is, when has it actually been completed? What was the difference between forecast and actual? And the third and final additional column is a cumulative difference. So how many days in total or how many weeks in total under project, over project am I? How much money am I under or overspent? And that's usually what you would do them for, either time or cost. So a project control chart keeps track of an individual product and its difference and a cumulative figure as well. I'm sure we're all familiar with milestone charts. They're fantastic for key events, critical points in the public or your sponsor's eye for what's got to be done and by when. Those are ideal to present both internally and to the outside world. So a milestone chart is there for key events. You wouldn't use it for everything. So we do need to monitor performance. So how will we do that? Well, a simple way is inspection. And if this is monitoring quality, we will have built this into our product specification, which says what quality standard, what quality check, when and by whom. So we'll build all that into our project or our detailed plans. So monitoring performance, it's about inspection. Inspecting the document, inspecting the work before they start to make sure it's the right thing, during or even after. It might be tests. You might carry out a test of what's being done. You might give it to one of the users and see if they can test it. At what point will it break, or at what point will it no longer function? This is all part of our quality process that we described way back in the beginning when we put our project definition together. If we are able to take these corrective actions easily, they're not too significant, we're what's called within tolerance, you just get on and do that. If, however, one of these inspections or audits brings up something different and takes you outside of the agreed tolerance levels, then you have to escalate that. You have to raise that with your senior manager and explain exactly what's happened, why it's happened, what the exception is, the difference, what the options are and what you propose they do about it. But if it is smaller and you're dealing with one of your internal team members or a supplier, it's going a bit wrong, the first thing is to negotiate, talk to them about it. And I use the 3 C's as my memory jogger for this. The first C is communicate. Make sure you communicated with them at the beginning. Did they know everything that they got to do? If they did, that's great. And now you need to communicate the current situation and the problems that that situation is going to cause both you and them. You then need to clarify exactly what the situation is so that they understand the reality of what's going on, and then agree to what actions you'll take. And you both then need to make a commitment to take action as you've agreed. So that's communicate, clarify, and commit. So in summary, we've taken our plan, we've converted it from a baseline plan into an action plan. If you like, the daily or the weekly tasks to do. We've allocated that work out, we monitor what's happening, we keep our eye on it, we take corrective action where necessary. If it goes outside of tolerance, we escalate it, we raise this exceptional situation, but all the time we try and negotiate, communicate, keep on track with everything until finally we can actually deliver our project as close to the original project plan as we possibly can. Remember though, your title is project manager. It's not project doer. Be really careful that if things go wrong, you don't just try and put it right yourself, because it seems quicker and easier. If you do that, it just means you're not doing any of your other job. So use the tools, use the techniques, use the different charts, and I'm sure you'll find it really easy to keep track of your project at each of the different stages. Good luck.